Welcome to howtobookgigs.com. I'm Tim Charron, and today I'm going to go over something that is really important and hopefully doesn't happen to you much. I've been very fortunate in my career that at least in the past 10 years of doing this full-time and professionally, I've only had a handful of issues with a venue, a bar, or a club, or a festival, or anything, not paying me or being unprofessional or not following through with what they said they were gonna do, whether or not we had a contract or just kind of had it in writing and emails back and forth. But so I'm just going to go over a real life scenario that happened a few years ago, and a real life scenario that's happening right now. That's why I wanted to do this video, because I want to go over things that are really just real life and they're happening to me now, and kind of just to let you guys know, and girls, know how I'm dealing with it. So hopefully it will help you, because it's something that dealing with bad venues or unprofessional venues is something that you're definitely gonna come across if you're a musician and playing shows. And as you progress and you learn, then you're gonna deal with it different ways. So a couple years ago, we were doing a show up in the Northeast, and it was a brand new venue, and we were doing. They had booked us for a bunch of shows, but the first run was their opening, the opening of the venue itself, and we were playing like three nights in a row. So, I had to, of course, hire all the musicians and coordinate everything. So it's really important, and if you get anything from this video, it's just the importance of, number one, of course, being 100% professional as you possibly can. Having said that, making sure that you advance shows. Advancing shows just means contacting the venue a week or two before, and just making sure you're both on the same page. What's the load-in time? What are the set times? You can confirm the rate that they're going to be paying you, whether or not they're going to be getting you hotels, if that's the kind of gig that you're doing. If you're doing recurring gigs, or I did a ton of hundreds of bar and restaurant gigs. Usually, if you know that you have to provide the sound, then you really don't need to advance that if you already know what to expect. But definitely on new gigs for you, especially when there's a band involved and you have to coordinate, you as the band leader or the recording artist. If you have to do all the logistics and figure everything out, then you definitely want to advance it. So just call them. So this run that we were doing, I had a really bad feeling, because I talked to the all right, I'm going to be really real. I'm just going to tell you exactly what happened. I talked to the sound guy that was doing it, and he just didn't seem like he knew what he was doing. He said that they didn't have monitors this is a pretty big club, and a big name club, because it was basically owned by a very big country act. So my first red flag was, okay, so you're opening a big club, a multi-million-dollar club. You are getting a big sound system, however much that costs, but you're not getting monitors? Okay. Red flag number one. Okay, so these are things to look out for. And then he suggested that we come in a few days before during the day and set up and play so that he could test the new sound system. Big red flag, because I have never heard of that. That it's been over 10 years, but I just say 10 years because that's when I moved to Nashville and decided to go full time being a musician. But I had never heard of that, and I wasn't about to drive 5 hours and my band asked them to go there so I could test out this venue's sound system. It's just not something that you run across. So all the red flags were going. I talked to everyone. I talked to Smidge about everything, my girlfriend, and I run everything by her, and we were like, oh geez, this just doesn't seem right. So it ended up being a nightmare. We went all the way down there, 5 hours or something, and they did not have monitors. They said that they had in-ear monitors. That wasn't going to happen. Then they finally got someone to let them borrow monitors, and this is what happened. The sound guy came up to me and said, oh, but we don't have cables to plug in the monitors. And this is opening night. This is an hour before the show. We're all set up, at least the band, and they don't have cables for the monitors that they just borrowed from the guy's friend. So he says to me, there's a Guitar Center 45 minutes away. You can just go buy some. And that was it. I just lost my mind and told the owner, we're out of here. We're leaving later. And he kind of just followed me out and just begged me to stay and promised that he would figure it out. So it was a total, complete nightmare. I knew in my gut that it was going to be and that I shouldn't have done it. And it turned out that I was right about it. So I learned my lesson. I learned it the hard way. We ended up playing the 3 nights, and then when we got back, I called and I canceled the rest of the shows there. They ended up closing that venue. I think they lasted like a year. So definitely, I mean, I hate to say it, but your biggest leverage, if you've done everything you possibly can, and always be 100% professional, be over professional, be over communicative, communicate too much, like make sure that venues know that you are on top of everything that you have to do, and making sure that they let you know everything that is going on beforehand. Because then if worse comes to worse, in the last case, what would you call it? Like the last ditch effort, the last thing that you can do, because you have no other leverage really, is to cancel. So I'm going through another ordeal where I've been trying to get a hold of a venue that agreed to certain terms for us to perform there. And over a period of about 5 or 6 weeks, I've been trying to get a hold of them, and they have been very oddly non-communicative, just sending me some messages that didn't even really make sense. So long story long, I told them a few weeks ago that, look, if you don't get me all, like just the set times and the load-in time and other things, if you don't get me this information, we're going to have to cancel, because I'm traveling all the way halfway across the country, and my band members are traveling from where they are, and it's a lot of logistics, and we don't want to be, stuck in a town not knowing what's going on. And it makes me not trust the venue when they don't get back to us. They don't tell us the right information. They don't follow through with what they said they were going to do. Like, for instance, if the venue says that they're going to, book you a hotel for you to stay because you're traveling, and it's 5 days before the show, and you've called the hotel twice and they still haven't booked your hotel, then you should cancel, because God forbid you have yourself and your band members go up there and you have nowhere to stay and you have to drive 5 hours back. And then you don't know, like, are they going to try to screw you on the price? Are they going to try to, you don't know what's going to happen, because if the bottom line is, if you can't trust them, then you shouldn't do it. You should cancel, because it's the only recourse you have. And it's the same thing, like, they need to be able to trust that you're professional enough, and that's why you're getting the gigs. That's your end of the bargain. So they have to hold up their end of the bargain. So don't be afraid to cancel, because it's really the pretty much the only leverage that we have as musicians. And if you feel like something's wrong, then go with your gut. What I did was I kept trying. It felt like it was going to be bad, but I kept trying. And then it got to a certain point where I was like, okay, if we go and do this show, if they're this difficult to deal with before the show, think of how bad it's going to be when you get there. If they're that unorganized and unprofessional, when you show up to do the show, it's going to, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a mess. So to avoid that, don't be afraid to cancel. So that's my advice on dealing with nightmare venues and unprofessional venues, because in my experience, like I said, I've done over 1,000 gigs in the past 10 years, and I have 2 stories now out of over 1,000 gigs where I can be like, wow, that was, these people were, this organization was a mess, or whatever it was. So it won't happen a lot, but always keep that in your back pocket. Your right to cancel, because venues, a lot of times they don't have a problem with either canceling or being unprofessional. So there you go. Do me a favor, check out my free book, howtobookgigs.com. And I'm putting together a course on how to book gigs and build a fan base, because I get asked about it all the time, and especially because I've been doing these videos, I get asked about it even more. So I'd like to get your 2 most important questions about, being an independent artist, singer, songwriter, band, booking gigs, building your fan base. Whatever you need answered, send me your 2 most important questions so that you can help me build this course, and I can use those questions to build the course. All right? Thank you. Make sure you subscribe too. I'd really appreciate it.